Hi, I'm Angie Bogus, and this is Abstraction Alignment, a methodology for measuring human AI alignment by comparing model and human conceptual relationships. Interpretability methods assess alignment by identifying a model's learned concepts, like the color red or the Golden Gate Bridge, and then checking that these concepts are human meaningful. Then, given a model's decision, we can check its alignment by confirming it relies on relevant concepts, like wheels and vehicle for this image of a fire truck. But these concepts aren't independent. They exist across levels of abstraction, from low-level concepts like colors to higher-level ideas like the ceremonial rite of graduation. And as a result, there are relationships between concepts, where wheels are parts of vehicles and the Golden Gate Bridge is a tourist attraction. Which raises a key question. What about the alignment of the model's conceptual relationships? Even if a model learns human-aligned concepts, if it does not learn the correct relationships between these concepts, it can lead to misaligned behavior. For instance, if it doesn't know that the Golden Gate Bridge is a tourist attraction, then it might not suggest that I visit it on my next trip to San Francisco. So, to measure alignment, we must consider not just the model's concepts, but also its conceptual relationships. Abstraction alignment is a method that helps us study this. It looks at the human alignment of models' conceptual relationships. To see how it works, let's start with a set of concepts. Given an input, we can get a score based on how relevant the model considers each concept. Here, we use the model's outputs, like its classes or tokens, as concepts, and their probabilities as the scores. This allows our approach to be model agnostic and apply to a range of models, and as we're going to see later, even datasets. But this could just as easily be latent concepts and their activations. For this image of a willow tree, our model assigns 61% confidence to the concept oak, 21% to willow, and 18% to maple. Now, this distribution isn't very decisive, but I bet you were thinking that the model's behavior seems reasonable. And that's because you just mentally measured its abstraction alignment. You took those three concepts and compared them to your mental abstractions, noticing that the model's confusion is contained within types of trees. And that's exactly what abstraction alignment does, except instead of relying on our internalized abstractions, we compare against externalized human abstraction graphs. So by linking these concepts into a human abstraction graph, we can quantify the process we all just did mentally, grouping oak, willow, and maple as types of trees and summing their probabilities. And by doing so, we now clearly see that our model is actually quite confident that this image is a tree. We can repeat this process for other instances. For instance, on the shark image, we see that the model is split between fish and aquatic mammal. And on this image of an elephant, we see the model relies on three distinct concepts: elephant, bears, and mushrooms. Comparing their distributions, we see that the model is actually equally confused about each of these images, following an approximately 60-20-20 distribution. It's only when we compare these decisions to our human abstractions that the differences become clear. I am more okay with the confusion in the top example because it aligns with my abstractions, even though the model actually misclassifies this image. And I am much more concerned about the bottom example because even though the model is correct, its confusion doesn't align with my abstractions. Great. So abstraction alignment has helped us make sense of individual model decisions. But what if we want to understand the model's overall alignment? Well, to do so, we have defined three metrics that aggregate abstraction alignment across instances. Let's take a look at one of them. Concept co-confusion measures how similar two concepts are to the model. It works under the assumption that the more often the model uses two concepts together, the more similar it thinks they are. And we measure it by comparing the relative entropy between pairs of concepts. While concept co-confusion will definitionally be high for direct relatives, like fish and shark, it can help us identify when the model considers two concepts at the same level of abstraction, or even different levels of abstraction similar. By aggregating across many models' decisions, we can use concept co-confusion to see which concepts frequently co-occur. To enable a range of users to explore abstraction alignment, we instantiate the method and metrics into an interactive user interface. The interface visualizes key aspects of abstraction alignment, like the human abstraction graph, our alignment metrics, and the distribution of concepts. It allows users to query for patterns of abstraction alignment and concept co-confusion, all of which populates a list of instances that match the user's search. So let's see how it supports real-world alignment workflows. As we've seen thus far, abstraction alignment can help us interpret image model behavior. In additional evaluations, we find that it helps researchers measure language model alignment. And since it's model agnostic, it can also help us measure the alignment of machine learning datasets. Let's take a closer look. A common application for machine learning in healthcare is to do something called medical coding, where, given a clinical note, the model outputs a set of ICD codes that describe diseases the patient had and diseases they received. Accurately applying these ICD codes is important for epidemiology and insurance billing, but even human-applied codes are often inaccurate due to issues with coder inexperience and, at times, intentional miscoding to increase insurance payout. Since models will learn to apply codes based on the dataset, they could perpetuate these issues in deployment. To address this, we use abstraction alignment to simulate a participatory dataset audit, where experts compare ICD-9 code labels in the MIMIC dataset to the World Health Organization's ICD standards. To simulate this setting, we work with 4 healthcare professionals, 2 medical coders who code clinical notes at hospitals, and 2 ICD managers who oversee national ICD code usage. Since abstraction alignment aggregates highly specific ICD codes into higher-level medical concepts, users were able to make sense of how the dataset's codes did or did not align with their expectations. For instance, by analyzing the distribution of concepts across levels of abstraction, users found that there were many cardiovascular disease codes, but very few related to pregnancy. For ICG managers, this was a big concern. While cardiovascular diseases are prevalent in large hospitals, these users are in charge of nationwide code usage, so they worried that models trained on this data would struggle in specialty departments like OB/GYN clinics. Then, using our concept co-confusion metric, users analyzed concepts in the dataset that most frequently co-occurred. Many of these code pairs made sense, like those for related diseases like diabetes and hypertension. But users also noticed that many pairs contain an unspecified or other code. In ICD-9, there are often a range of specific codes, followed by an unspecified catch-all code. However, our medical coders were concerned, saying this many unspecified codes is a no-no. Our job is to code to the highest level of specificity, because the more information you have, the more likelihood the insurance claim gets paid. They worried that models trained on this dataset could learn to over-apply unspecified codes and lead to persistent insurance denials in the real world. In fact, this issue of overusing unspecified codes is something that the WHO changed when it updated from ICD version 9 to ICD version 10. So, beyond identifying misalignments in our models and datasets, here, abstraction alignment has actually identified an issue in our human abstractions, suggesting ways to improve our own conceptual relationships. By simply considering conceptual relationships, abstraction alignment provides a new lens to assess the human alignment of machine learning models and datasets. As we just saw in our medical dataset audit, studying conceptual relationships can reveal surprising insights, not just about the model or dataset, but also about our human abstractions, suggesting that models might have something to teach us. Given these benefits, it raises the question, how do other interpretability methods change when we consider abstraction? And what if we applied mechanistic interpretability methods to not only extract concepts, but study and extract entire abstractions from the model's internal representations? Moreover, Thinking about alignment in terms of abstraction makes it apparent that we're always aligning to someone's knowledge. So I'm excited to think about ways we can shift towards user-specific alignment, identifying models that best fit or even expand a user's current point of view. There's lots we didn't touch on here, including additional metrics and our abstraction alignment analysis of language models. All of that, as well as demos and code, are available at this QR code. Thanks for watching.